Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
It's not great, definitely not ideal. I think I'm definitely being more conscious of my kilometers as I'm driving, trying to save as much as I can.
I don't think there's, frankly, a viable option.
What do you think you're going to do?
I'll vote, because I will not waste a vote.
I started in October, and it took me until March to actually think about this project, do background research on this project, figure out what materials I need for this project, and eventually I was able to create the project.
Thanks for joining us. If you drive a car or a truck, you know the pain at the pump is getting worse. Gas in our area costs more than $2 a liter, and there's no telling how high it will go. Dale Molnar has been out talking to drivers and businesses affected by the record high prices and joins us now live with more. Dale, how are people coping?
Well, Katerina, I'm here at the Esso station on University Avenue, where the gas price is at $207.6 a liter for regular and $229.6 a liter for diesel. Now, some people say they're not going to change their ways, and while other people say they've gone to the extent of getting more fuel-efficient cars. And businesses, some businesses say the sales of their products have actually increased due to the high gas prices.
Damn, I think I'm going to buy a horse.
Well, that would be cheaper. With gas at an all-time high, some people are opting to change their driving habits or change vehicles.
Oh, I just traded in my van for a hybrid car because I was paying to go to work. I actually work 30 minutes away, so I had to drive 30 minutes there and back every day, and I was paying, ended up paying more than it was worth to work, so I had to trade in for a hybrid over there.
How would you cut back on your driving? What do you think you would cut out of your driving?
Oh, even just leisure trips, like road trips to Toronto, things like that. We're trying to be more conscious and timely, visiting family, things like that. We kind of have to go visit everyone in one trip kind of a thing just to save on the back and forth. And
the high gas prices have increased interest in more fuel-efficient cars.
Now, we have seen a bit of an increase in interest in hybrid style vehicles, electric vehicles, and still just an interest in small four-cylinder cars. But I do think it's still a little bit too early maybe to reach judgment on that yet. The demand for big pickup trucks and V8 trucks is still seems to be there.
And the sales manager at this trailer dealership says campers are asking them to deliver the trailers.
We're finding we're setting more up on seasonal campsites at the campground. Some people are just going to tailor their trips, maybe go shorter distances.
According to this e-bike dealer, the pandemic increased sales of e-bikes, but he expects demand will increase even more for e-bikes as the gas prices rise.
I'd expect it to continue trending upwards. Once people get their bikes and they realize it only costs about 40 cents to $1 to charge it, and they can use that for all day or a few days, putting insurance on a car and paying for gas it doesn't look so good.
Many experts have attributed the rising prices to Russia's attack on Ukraine, as well as global demand increasing as COVID-19 restrictions ease. Others say those are factors, but the supply issue predates them and is only being exacerbated now. Now, not everyone I talked to is getting rid of their gas guzzler. I talked to an 80-year-old pickup truck driver who says he's hanging on to his truck. He says he doesn't drive it very much, so the price hike doesn't affect him too much. Katerina?
Thanks for this, Dale. CBC's Dale Molnar live for us tonight. Ontario's main political parties are all trying to put a positive spin on last night's leaders' debate. And while there were no knockout punches thrown and no clear winner, one thing has come into focus: the strategies each party will use, with the election now just over 2 weeks away. Lorenda Redekop has more.
The Liberal Party held a post-debate rally today in Etobicoke. No question about their target.
To the very heart of Ford Nation.
Stephen Del Duca also attacked the NDP.
They don't have what it takes to stand up and defeat Doug Ford and his Conservatives. Only the Ontario Liberal Party can actually make sure that Doug Ford is gone.
In last night's debate, here's what he told the NDP leader.
Respectfully, Ms. Horvath, every time you attack me, as you've done for a year, Doug Ford smiles.
That's Mr. Del Duca's shtick, but it's really not very believable.
That's how Andrea Horvath responded this morning. Horvath is trying to present her party, the official opposition the last time, as the best option.
For those folks that are trying to figure out how do we stop Doug Ford, this time it's not the same old solution. It's not the same old disappointing Liberals. They only had 7 seats going into this campaign. We had 40.
Many commended the Green Party leader for his performance last night.
Mr. Ford, have you talked to a nurse lately? Have you talked to a nurse about how disrespected they feel?
Now he's trying to ensure that translates into more seats.
And for everyone last night who said the Ontario Greens won the debate, I would say if you want green, vote green.
He appeared with Diane Sachs running in Toronto Rosedale. She's the former Environment Commissioner, a role scrapped by Doug Ford. The party sees that riding as one of their best hopes.
He'll pave over the wetlands, the clean our drinking water and protect us.
Mr. Schreiner, if it was up to you and up to the three of you, you wouldn't build nothing. You would rather
build transit,
protest.
I'd build transit, I'd build housing.
Last night, Ford seemed to fend off the attacks from the 3 people trying to replace him. Today, he showed off getting a new endorsement, his 4th from a union. Polls consistently put him in the lead. His response?
In my opinion, polls are for dogs. You know, and all we have to do is go out there, continue with the message.
Now the other main parties have just over 2 weeks to try to disrupt that message. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
It's time for Voters Corner. We are hearing directly from you about the issues you care about the most. And affordability has clearly been established as a top issue this election. And it's something many of you wanted to speak with us about. We heard how inflation and high prices are impacting, they are affecting many, from those who are students to those nearing or at retirement. Are you paying close attention to this provincial election?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
What are the key things that you're looking for?
Prices, inflation, unemployment for a lot of people, health problems, Ukraine, all the stuff. Same for everybody, basically, you know.
What are the things that impact your life, and how do they impact your life?
Well, most of the prices, inflation and everything, that's a major deal. I'm going to retire shortly, so it makes you wonder if you want to work or not, you know.
I don't think a lot of people realize that not having, you know, the dentistry covered, the optometry covered, all of those things affect people on a daily basis. I can see how it even affects me because I'm still a student. So, but I am fortunate, like unlike other people where I have family support and other things like that, but I always, even in like what I'm doing in school, like the type of work, I see people that are in disadvantaged communities, and I realize, I think the biggest thing that the NDP really does is get across the point that not everybody is in your exact situation, that especially if you are privileged, that you should be aware of that.
Affordability, cost of food. In my case, it's not long since I switched from provincial disability to federal pension, and Ford and his gang, since they took power, have not given even 1 red cent increase to people on ODSP. How do they expect people to live?
Can you speak a little bit about how, yes, affordability is a key issue for a lot of people right now. How is it impacting your life in the day-to-day?
Well, I go to the grocery store and my $50 budget buys me about 20% less than it used to. So figure that out. Why? I mean, food banks are chalked to the block with clients because they can't afford to go to the grocery store. And I don't know how people with a couple of kids, frankly, live if they don't have a decent job.
So how are you managing?
Very quietly. I used to enjoy going for a beer. I haven't been out for a beer since just before Christmas.
You can always contact us directly if you want to be featured on our Voters Corner. Email us at windsor@cbc.ca. A Ukrainian commander is now crediting a Canadian-donated frontline weapon for knocking out a Russian tank. Video from Ukraine's military shows a T-90M being hit in fighting near Kharkiv. Ukraine says Canadian help will be key in the battles ahead. CBC's Chris Brown took a ride-along on a Canadian Forces tactical airlift with supplies destined for Ukraine. He gives us a rare glimpse at a small piece of the overall mission Canada is part of.
Well, this is the cockpit of a Canadian Forces Hercules. Those are the pilots, and here we are in the back. We're somewhere flying over Europe, headed to Poland as part of a regular mission that the Canadian Forces has been doing, bringing humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine. Let's come into the back. Members of the 8th Wing, usually based at CFB Trenton, have relocated to Prestwick, Scotland, and they've been flying 2 Hercules out of there on their mission to bring equipment, not just from Canada, but also from NATO into Ukraine. We can't actually tell you what's in these boxes, but it is a mix of what we're told is lethal and non-lethal equipment destined for Ukraine. There really has been a conveyor belt of trips that this air crew has been making going in. And they seem very, very pleased with their work. The pilots we talked to said they've been in the air about 100 hours every month. They can legally fly up to 120, so they're very close to maxing themselves out. We're on our way to Jesnow, Poland. It's a NATO military base. We can't really take any pictures or show any of the activity there, but all of this will be unloaded and from there transported into Ukraine by land, by truck, by train, and then in many cases right up to the front line, of course, the front lines where Ukraine is fighting Russia. Chris Brown, CBC News, on a Hercules over Europe.
U.S. President Joe Biden paid a visit to Buffalo, New York. He was there to offer condolences as the community struggles with the grief and pain of a mass shooting, and he bluntly condemned the ideology that's being blamed for the attack.
What happened here is simple and straightforward. Terrorism. Terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Violence inflicted in the service of hate and the vicious thirst for power that defines one group of people being inherently inferior to any other group.
10 people died there on Saturday when a man opened fire inside a grocery store in a largely black neighborhood. The president and First Lady Jill Biden left flowers at a tree within view of the scene of the shootings. The accused shooter is reported to have believed in so-called replacement theory, which says white people are being intentionally replaced by people of color. The Canadian housing market is cooling off. As interest rates rise, the number of home sales and home prices are falling. That's shifting the balance of power between buyers and sellers. As CBC's Nisha Patel reports, it's a change that comes too late for some who were swept up in the housing frenzy. But it's bringing back some of the traditional protections for purchasers.
A move from Vancouver to Sudbury, Ontario, in order to land a cozy dream home. Or so they thought. Swept up in Canada's housing frenzy back in March, Joshua Keys and his partner bought the house virtually with no inspection.
We felt pressure. We felt like this could be our last chance. So we just said, okay, let's go for it.
When they took possession, the photos didn't match reality. Junk everywhere, water damage, and structural issues. As if that weren't enough, it might also be losing value.
Now it seems like, yes, the prices are going down again a little bit, and we might be stuck.
Many Canadians may be feeling buyer's remorse. Thanks to higher interest rates the past couple of months, sales have slipped in 80% of housing markets. Some economists predict prices will fall 10 to 20% this year.
It wouldn't surprise me if we actually see the fastest transition from a seller's market to a buyer's market.
Ontario realtor Daniel Foch says the power between sellers and buyers is shifting.
Start exercising those rights that a buyer's market gives you, the right to inspect a property, the right to include a financing condition.
Experts also caution that in a cooling market, overbidding can be especially risky, as banks may appraise the home at a lower price than expected.
What it puts a home buyer on the hook for in terms of an appraisal coming in low is that the home buyer would be responsible to cover the additional costs.
A reminder that in a market that's quickly changing, it's best to be prepared.
Really make sure you do your due diligence, or else people will take advantage of your ignorance.
It could help avoid costly mistakes for what is most often the biggest purchase of a lifetime. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Back to local news now. Science fairs are sometimes filled with volcanic eruptions and vegetable batteries. But a 15-year-old Windsorite has taken her high school competition to a different level. As CBC's Jason Vio reports, she's created an artificial pancreas prototype that has the possibility of helping people with diabetes.
At first glance, it may just look like a box with a few beakers, but inside is an artificial pancreatic prototype,
which works based on a sensor. When this sensor senses high blood glucose levels, it sends high voltage through the circuit. The circuit allows this voltage through to the pump, which turns the pump on, eventually allowing for insulin administration.
Essentially, the wearable device would allow people with diabetes to receive insulin administration automatically while being able to view their glucose levels on their smartphone in real time. The grade 10 student at Windsor's Assumption College Catholic High School was inspired to start this project after her mother had gestational diabetes while pregnant with her little sister.
I really wanted to help people like my mother and to make sure that no child ever has to go through watching their own mother inject insulin and blood pricking while they're pregnant with their younger sister.
There are similar devices that exist already, but not fully automatic like what she's created. And recently, her device has won awards, 7 at her local science fair.
Oh, I had a big smile on my face. I love to inspire students, and someone like her, to see her take that idea and expand on it, truly amazing. I had butterflies and my hair on my arm sticking up. I was really, really proud of her.
Now, Sahila Sadhu is competing in the Canada-wide Science Fair for a chance to win a scholarship to a York University summer program. In a few days, she'll learn the results and hopes to come out on top, putting her one step closer to her dream.
In the future, I would definitely like to make this project biocompatible and nanoscaled so it could be marketed as wearable technology for real-life applications.
Even with all of her achievements, she hasn't lost sight of being just 15 years old.
It's very thrilling, of course. I am like a normal teenager. I like to do what every other teenager does. But this is something that was really driven inside of me. It's really something that I'm passionate about.
But she still has an eye on her future, where she wants to become a pediatrician in addition to bringing this device to life. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
Leaders at Windsor's downtown mission are floored. They've just accepted a large donation from a Muslim student group at Vincent Massey. Both students and staff at the high school collected donations during Ramadan to help Windsor's homeless. They raised a grand total of $5,500. The money was given to the mission earlier today, and it'll go towards meals and clothing, which the mission says is needed this time of year.
Part of the month of Ramadan is not only fasting, but also to give back to the community, to those that are in need. And the downtown mission has been a focal point of the Windsor community to support those that are in need, whether it's through meals, shelters. And so the students decided that we want to give back to our local community and to those who need it most.
What this particular donation means, though, is beyond that financial help, it gives you that hope for the future, because it's young people coming together and thinking of how they can help other people who are maybe less fortunate than they are in their own community. And it's incredible to see young people come together in this way. And you know, they were just sharing how they collected those donations and the ideas that they came up with and things like that, and just them being advocates for people who are less fortunate in their own community, and getting their friends, their family, their neighbors, their teachers, etc., excited to help in this way has been it's been awesome.
Live look outside there. We had mostly sunny skies today, a little bit chillier than it's been, and we do have the possibility of some incoming rain tomorrow. Colette will be here after the break to explain. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is here now for our weather forecast. And Colette, another beautiful day today, but like a little bit chillier. I pulled out my jean jacket to get myself to work today.
Yeah, you needed a little bit of layering today because not only, were the temperatures cooler, but the breeze as well, a little on the chilly side. But I am here to tell you, okay, one more day, midweek, Wednesday, still kind of cool, a little bit below seasonal, and not with the sun from today. So we've got some rain on the way. But I want to look at the temperature story here and just seeing where we're at. So Wednesday, still seeing the colors here and the contours of the temperatures in the greens and yellows, but watch as we jump into Thursday, all those hotter colors, the oranges and reds starting to push into southwestern Ontario, bumps up even higher and onto Friday, but then really Saturday, so close, but we'll see a front going through. And so I'm watching the timing of this. It could be the kind of thing where we do hit a very warm temperature, like close to 30 degrees, but early in the day, and then the temperature falls off behind the front. So we'll be watching that. Daytime temperatures, having a look at some of these from earlier at 16, then 10 at noon. We were back to 16, and then with the sunshine, that helped push us up to some upper teens in terms of what we're seeing. But there's that northwesterly breeze, and we're seeing the clearer skies now because of high pressure, but that anchor is going to move off towards the east. And so what happens as it does, some cooler readings tonight, a few frost advisories to the north and east of us. We're not kind of worrying about that, although some very tender vegetation, certain areas you could be in trouble, but we've got an overnight low of 9 degrees for Windsor. But here we go into tomorrow. So increase in cloud, very light in nature and kind of scattered and not very well organized with the showers early, but then this will fill in and we'll see more of that coming through the day. So a little bit intermittent. And as it moves through, we'll have a lot of that cloud deck and just a cooler feel to things. Then we push that on out of here. And what we'll see on Thursday is really improving conditions so that we do get into some sunshine. And in fact, Thursday with the temperatures warming up plus that sun, I really think it's going to be quite a pleasant day. Overnight tonight, I already told you the low here also for Leamington 9. And you see some of those cooler readings. So that's why north of us there, closer to Sarnia, a few areas you could see some of that frost. But the advisories aren't there. There's the warm up, though, if you want to see what the numbers look like to go with it. So Friday 29, this Saturday, this is where it gets interesting, where I think we could be warmer, but then cooling into the afternoon. Kat.
Thanks for that, Colette. When we come back, we will have more news for you. A white stag symbolizes growth and adventure in a number of mythologies. Now, one has made an appearance in a field in a rural suburb of Ottawa. But the white fallow deer is a species native to Europe. It's a mystery how this one ended up where it now lives. Stu Mills has a story.
A white stag is not something you see every day in Manotick. Residents here first noticed the animal that resembled a fairy tale deer back in September. But when Ottawa winter set in, this European beast grew thin and weak. That's when Bucky's guardian angel stepped in.
Bucky! Oh boy.
Pierre Leonard began making regular visits to make sure the story didn't have a sad ending.
We fed him a little bit so he can go through the winter and make sure he had water, and now he looked pretty healthy.
Leonard says he imagines the net tangled in Bucky's antlers is a sign that, like the stags of the myths, this deer has evaded capture a few times. So he's letting the deer stay close to his horses. Experts say this European animal likely escaped from a deer farm, even though nobody in the area has reported one missing. Residents say they feel lucky to have been visited by the stag and hope it moves along to enchant others as it goes. Stu Mills, CBC News, Ottawa.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.